What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. They just came out with some news that is prompting it to go down 9.15%. I want to break it down on what that news is. Is this sell-off justified or not? Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that said, let's get right to it. So like I said, it is down 9.09%. 26.03 million shares have been traded within the first about 30 minutes of the trading day. 58.2 is the average. So when it comes down to it, leading into the day prior to SoFi unveiling this news, it was going to be red. So you kind of have to account for some of that in this down day, or I guess SoFi's down day. But this news that did come out was this right here. So SoFi Technologies Inc. announced its proposed convertible senior note offering due 2029. And so ultimately it does look like it's going to be around 750 in aggregate principal, and that's going to be converted obviously due 2029. So ultimately pretty good stuff. When I did see this, I actually started to speculate, saying that, hey, this might actually be for an acquisition, because why on earth would someone be raising this amount of money at this stage in the game? But ultimately it does look like, based on this, it is going to be used to pay off essentially the cost associated to administering this, and as well, based on their 2026 notes, there is that convertible clause, so they're going to be paying that off, because a lot of these notes do have anti-dilutive qualities. So technically, if they are going to be diluting from now until September, or I guess 2029, this is where those anti-dilutive clauses could be very damaging to the underlying stock. So they're trying to fix that essentially. So this is why they are paying off, what's that old phrase, pay Peter to pay off the pipers, or pay, like, you guys get what I'm saying. So ultimately they're just getting debt to pay off debt, and it is advantageous. Of course, it is due 2029, but those notes that are due 2026, that does mean that they intend on diluting, plain as day, or else they wouldn't be trying to pay off those 2026 notes. It's just logical, right? So all in all, I don't see this as good. Initially, like I said, I was speculating, saying that this was maybe an acquisition that SoFi was looking at expanding, but it's not. So overall, not necessarily the best news. You do see shorts jumping all over this. So 1.24 million shares are being increased, like I mentioned, within the first 30 minutes of the trading day. 17.49% of the free float is being shorted, and 158.74 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost to borrow average is 1.02%. As it stands, I actually didn't do any options, weekly options with SoFi this week, nor did I last week. There's just a lot of other stocks that kind of had my priority overall. But with this sell-off, it might be very advantageous to potentially look at 750 puts. On a side note, just to sell, because like I already said in the many times in the past, selling puts and selling covered calls is a very good way to collect some premiums. So you can take advantage of this sell-off, because a lot of people are anticipating for this now to continue to trend down, because it is now below that pivot point based on the Elliott wave technicals. So that does insinuate that lower lows might be coming, because quickly going over here, I did bring this up over the last couple of videos, but it does have a pivot point of $7.88. So for as long as SoFi was going to be above that, then it was looking fairly optimistic. But because of this, now it is anticipated to get to kind of the low sixes essentially. So once again, technicals are breaking down for SoFi, and you have some kind of not massive manipulation, but you have shorts always just gently pushing SoFi slowly down. So they're not really doing anything crazy by increasing like 10 million shares every single day, but slowly over time, this is where shorts are starting to really manipulate SoFi behind the scenes. But then again, I can't really blame shorts based on this news today. This is SoFi in among themselves. But right now, looking at options, $3.37 million in calls being purchased versus $3.25 million in puts. So within the first 30 minutes of the trading day, a lot of money is getting into options, and it is somewhat evenly divided. So 46% of all the options being done so far are optimistic. Looking at the call options that are being purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above 850. So that once again has dropped from the last several days. So optimism is slowly dying. And then looking at puts, it is anticipated. Oddly, you do see a very abnormal one right here for the March 22nd. So for it to be below 650, maybe matching with this Elliott wave technicals. Potentially could be coming true. These are some of the transactions that have occurred within the first 30 minutes on the secondary market above $100,000. Based on the bid, the ask, and the selling price, you do see first thing majority has been buying, but clearly for it to go down, you have shorts as well as just algorithmic trading wanting to piggyback off of the negative momentum in the market, causing SoFi to go down. So even though big money is buying, it's not enough to cut it right now. So with it right now at $7.83, it is between this S3 and this S2. So $7.76 is going to be a very strong support. And it did bounce off of that today, so we'll just have to wait and see if it does continue to hold. And then vice versa, $8.15 is going to be that next strong resistance. So both points are kind of key ones that you need to watch for, and both have been touched today. But looking on the actual technicals, just zooming out, so it did unfortunately break below that 50-day moving average, and it did transition from the higher to the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. And as it stands, it is kind of below that 100-day moving average. It might have a kind of value rally essentially today, but I wouldn't really kind of bet on it. Essentially looking at stochastic, you do still see that bearish deviation, and it is starting to reset. So because of this sell-off over the last couple of days, it is resetting the technical, so that's kind of a positive if you're looking for, I guess, some optimism from today. And then looking at momentum, shows number of retail investors have been getting out over the last little bit. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What is your take, for instance, on this news as well? Do you think that this is good, or do you think it's bad? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.